Woo! The Golden Stallion, the man of tomorrow, Savzu, the rated R radio star, here for your Patreon only Sovryn Tech live Hangout Q&A that's done on Google Hangouts. And at some point, we'll actually get it to where hopefully it's not on Hangouts. But here it is, and it's starting at 4:30, which is a little bit different than 4 o'clock, which is when it normally happens. So I imagine some people are like, either maybe they showed up early, and they're like, oh, where the hell is this? Blah, blah, blah. And then, anyway, people will be showing up, to talk about things. So, but I did mention in the Sovryn Tech Uncensored Facebook group, I said, hey, if you have any questions that you want to preload to ask for this for me to talk about, we can go ahead and do that. But I'll start off by saying, actually, and this shocked the hell out of me, or, well, no, it didn't shock me at all. Okay, but so first off, I'm on location, so there's no actual video. Let me say that. This is going to be done completely on audio, and I am not in the BDSM studios, the Brian's Dungeon of Sex and Magic. I'm actually, so I'm on my Kingston HyperX 2 or Cloud 2 headset. So if the audio is a little bit different, maybe a little bit of a lesser quality, that's what's going on. It's just that I'm on location. I'm not using the Zune H1 like I was using to record this week's Sovryn Tech, which, by the way, thank you to everybody who had kind words about this week's Sovryn Tech Prime episode. But yeah, so if you're just wondering about the audio and all that, that's the deal. People can still come into the Hangout and whatever, and you can ask questions on either the YouTube chat or you can actually be on the Hangout. No difference in technicalities there, but that's what's happening. Now, something interesting that I learned just today as I was doing this, or as I was setting this up, was that right now Hangouts, Google Hangouts, does not work on Firefox as of version 57 because the major change that was made in version 57. Now that we're using what is called Firefox Quantum. So that's interesting. Again, not a surprise. You used to have to download a special plugin to use Hangouts on Firefox, but it does lend itself to that idea that, well, Google is favoring its services on its own browsers. In fact, what came up, it listed off Mozilla Firefox ECR, which I'm guessing is kind of like this long-term version of Mozilla Firefox, like an LTS kind of version of Mozilla Firefox, where it's using sort of the legacy code of some kind. So it works on that. It also, they said Safari, it works, and Internet Explorer, and then, of course, Google Chrome. An interesting point in all of that, okay, first off, why it would support Internet Explorer and not Microsoft Edge. Yeah, I get that they're two different rendering engines and very different browsers in general. But that's kind of a slap to the face, and again, that lends more to Google is going to be, as much as it can, is trying to favor, its own web browser to kind of force you to use Chrome. But I was shocked that Opera wasn't listed there. It's almost like and that's what I'm actually using it in. I'm not using it in Firefox because I can't. And Firefox right now is my primary browser ever since Firefox Quantum came out. But I'm still a huge fan of Opera. I know it has a closed source code base and all that, but I'm a huge fan of Opera, and I'm using this on Opera. I just found it shocking that that Google would not list off Opera as a supported browser. I mean, and it's supported like all the way. It works beautifully, of course, because Opera uses the same rendering engine, uses Blink just like Chrome does. So there shouldn't be any reason that it wouldn't work, but it does. But they wouldn't mention it. So it's just kind of funny that they don't want you to know that these alternatives exist. And of course, there's quite a few more than just Opera where it could work. They didn't mention Vivaldi. Granted, Vivaldi is a very new web browser. I understand perhaps why that's not flying. So I just had somebody in the YouTube live chat room saying, thankfully, the chat still works. Yeah, I'm actually looking at the chat room through Firefox as well, and it is still working there. But yeah, interesting times. Let's just put it that way. Interesting times. As soon as Patreon has said they've been looking into doing video streaming, and they were using a service different than Google Hangouts, as soon as that becomes like a widely disseminated thing for all Patreon creators, I will be taking advantage of that, and then and then we'll make all this happen. Hopefully, too, though, you have control, or creators have control of the video, because I always convert these into audio after the fact, and I want to be able to get that audio out to you, and so it would suck if I had to, I don't know, do some kind of like real-time streaming just to get the audio. That's one of the advantages of using Hangouts, is I can use a service to just download the YouTube video and in fact automatically convert it into an MP3 as I'm downloading it, which leads us into beautifully, it's a gorgeous segue that was not planned at all, and I mean that, to with the first question that got preloaded for this live hangout. So let's see. It is other than ripping from YouTube, where do you torrent or otherwise download DRM-free music? I have some friends rave about Usenet, but haven't tried in a while, particularly looking for electronic dance music. Okay, yeah, other than ripping from YouTube. And if you wanted to rip from YouTube, that's actually become a very serious challenge as late. In fact, Firefox has really become one of the best ways to do it. And I say it's become a challenge because YouTube has split kind of the audio and video. And so to where it's very easy for Google now to track these websites that are allowing for the ripping of YouTube content and all that. So it's genuinely a challenge now, to where like a lot of services and sites that were allowing for YouTube ripping, be it into MP3 or even just as the raw video, have gone the way of the dodo in the past month. And I mean a lot of them. Literally hundreds of sites have shut down because of this new process. It's not an encoding process, but for lack of a better term, for the new process that the YouTube videos, are streaming to you from. So as far as how I've been having to download YouTube videos, the beautiful thing is that Firefox doesn't have the same restrictions on video downloading, or particularly YouTube downloading extensions and add-ons that Google Chrome does. Because Google Chrome, if something downloads YouTube videos, they don't allow it in the Chrome web store. So there's one called YouTube Download Plus. That's the name of it. If I think of it, I'll put it in the show notes for when I release this episode later on audio in the Patreon podcast feed. And unfortunately, it's in German, and you can't really do a whole lot about that other than some kind of translate, but running a translate extension. But that one does about the best job, especially if you're trying to download it as an MP3 right out of the gate and not just as a video alone. So YouTube Download Plus is the one that's still free and still works. There's some other extensions that are available on, that are available in the add-on, not store, but in the add-on repository for Firefox. But a lot of those now have switched to where you have to pay for them. And their argument for why you have to pay to rip YouTube videos using their service is because the new way that that Google's encoding onto YouTube, or disseminating on YouTube, is such an expensive proposition now. At least that's how the argument goes. J Downloader for YouTube, yep, that's another solid one too. There's a few options out there. But my favorite one so far for Firefox has been YouTube Download Plus. And then there's clipconverter.cc, but that doesn't allow you to do music, so that's not necessarily a help. But there's still a few out there. Just a lot of them have shut down. So anyway, but they weren't concerned with other with ripping off of YouTube. The question is where are the other places that you can go? As far as EDM, electronic dance music, particularly. The Pirate Bay is still out there with torrenting, and the most recent URL for the Pirate Bay is thepiratebay.org. There is worldwidetorrents.me. That is my favorite torrent site personally, and that's one to consider, where you can just type in the search bar. You could type in EDM and you're going to end up with tons of stuff. Like Pirate Bay still has. They have so much chill step and I don't know, all kinds of, EDM music and everything. That's kind of my favorite way to go. Now, Usenet, I am a huge fan. I am a huge fan of Usenet. Like, that is a completely valid suggestion for how to get your hands on music. The thing is, the only problem with Usenet, and there's great guides out there still that show you how to use Usenet today, but you sort of have to pay for, like, I don't know, is it EasyNet or Easy Download or whatever the hell the names of a lot of these Usenet services are. You used to get in the 90s with your with the whatever ISP you were paying for. Okay, you used to get a certain amount. Like Usenet came with your internet plan. Like that was just, it was just part and parcel. When that exactly changed, somewhere in the aughts, that started to change. Easy News, that's the one I was thinking of. There's like Easy News. There's some other ones. And now you really you have to pay for, and it's somewhat limited, and that's probably because they know a lot of people use it to download, contraband and illicit digital materials. But yeah, you have to pay for it now, and it's not unlimited, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. But there's great guides out there to do that. So I still recommend, I definitely still recommend using Usenet. And if you haven't used it in a while, well, like I said, there are great guides out there to give you a hand with that. But yeah, I mainly when it comes to torrenting, I'm still using like Pirate Bay. I still, I use Worldwide Torrents. There's skytorrents.in. That's another solid one that's out there. Let's see, there's a little bit in the YouTube chat here. One person says, I have a good amount of electronic from the 90s and aughts available on the RetroShare public library. Unfortunately, it's not organized at the moment, but it's there. The biggest problem with Usenet is retention. Right. So two things. One is to reference Usenet. Yeah, retention, like, those files only stay up there for a little while. Okay. And so, you can run into issues over the years and over time. That is a genuine problem. Usenet's not perfect. I think it's perfect for what it was originally intended for, which was really just a way to kind of, it was more like just groups. In fact, it was really an ancient way of doing Facebook groups in a very real sense. That was a little more efficient and organized than connecting with people over certain passions and interests than email was, or at least large groups of people. So, and then was that no, it's a skytorrent.in. Let me double check that quick. Somebody just asked about SkyTorrents. I will put it's SKY, then the word torrents with an S at the end, and then .in. That's another really solid torrent site. So Demonoid's still out there. Is it demonoid.pw or .me at the moment? I mean, a lot of the classics are still out there. Oh well, no, don't go to Demonoid. Never mind. Yeah, there we go. Skytorrents.in. Okay, somebody just put it in the YouTube chat. Now, okay, the first part there, though, was that it's in the RetroShare public library. Yeah, so there is a ton of content there is a Sovryn Tech group on the software called RetroShare. I cannot implore you enough to become a part of this. It's only available to patrons, which that's fine because the only people listening to this are patrons. And I mean, other people may be able to get on there, whatever, we can all be kind of tongue in cheek about it. But anyway, so with RetroShare, if you go to, here's the URL. If you go to retroshare.sovryntech.com and you're a patron, that will take you to the site that will tell you how to get connected with RetroShare. There's great people involved on there. It's awesome. I don't get to spend as much time as I want to on there right now. Hopefully, I feel like I've been saying this throughout 2017. Like, just my schedule's been fucking insane. That's a fact of life. And for 2017, and hopefully things can start getting a little bit back to normal. Come 2018. I said this on the Sovryn Tech Prime episode this week. Like, I can't believe that we're under like 3 weeks for when the new Star Wars movie comes out, for when The Last Jedi comes out. That blows my fucking mind. That's a thing. We got someone in the Hangouts. We will get to them in just a second. But anyway, I just want to finish up this conversation. Yeah. So, and then there's someone else mentioned Lime torrents. I'm not totally familiar with that, but there's still torrent sites out there that are usable. Usenet's still a thing. You want to go to Easy News to check that out as well. So hopefully that answers that. Something, if you want, here's kind of an off the wall kind of recommendation. I don't know what exactly, if you're just looking for like dance beats, like you're just looking for something to dance to and you don't need a particular like big name like David Guetta or whoever the fuck these people are, or Armin van Buren or something. I don't know all these people. If you're just looking for some great tunes, a great website where the stuff is totally free and it's not necessarily illegal is Overclocked Remix, which is ocremix.org. Ocremix.org is a site. it's been around forever. I mean, I think before I even went into the military, like I was downloading albums and music from this. What it is, it's all game music, but it's like remixes and interpretations of video game music. And this is some of the best stuff you'll ever hear in your life. I mean, it's just top notch fucking work. So ocremix.org, that's Overclocked Remix. And you can download, I mean, there's thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of hours of music on there. And especially as far as like EDM, there's some great tunes you just wouldn't believe. But there's a lot of different styles on there available as well. So let's see. Has anyone else been having a problem with Pirate Bay lately? The last week, the site has been returning bad gateway errors for me. Yeah, it has. In fact, on Torrent Freak, they have been talking about how Pirate Bay, they were having, like, they were getting DDoS. There's varying issues, and yeah, it's been a little touch and go over the past week. There was a couple days the previous week where it wasn't even like loading up at all, and you were getting you're getting cached versions of the page. So yeah, there have been problems. It's not just you, and people are aware of it. So okay, I do have another preloaded question to get to, but I'm going to save that, and we can just go right into. Actually, we got Jacob in the Hangout. Jacob, if you are up and ready, you can come on, and you can just do audio if you want, or if you want to do video, you're welcome to be in on the game. Go ahead and unmute yourself and make it happen. There we go.
Woo!
Woo! Right on, Jacob. Absolutely, baby. How's it going?
I tell you,
it's been crazy.
well, this is gonna be a little personal, but
okay, you got it.
I'm seeking a lot of people's advice right now because I've had some recent health issues. Lost 30 pounds in the past month. Spent a couple days in the hospital last week.
Wow.
Things are getting better though. They're turning around. I lost 30 pounds. I was like 165, 170 to begin with. I was happy at that weight. I was in good shape.
Sure.
And now I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, so that 30 pounds wasn't by choice. Okay. Go ahead.
No, it was not by choice. Now, fitness has always been integral to my sense of identity, to my own sense of identity for about the past 20 years. I've rarely been out of shape, maybe for a month or so, but easily gotten back in. And now this situation, though, it's looking like a much more longer term recovery. Gaining back that 30 pounds is going to take a long time. My issue is, I look in the mirror. I don't recognize the body that I see. Trying to keep perspective on the goal of getting back to where I was. And I was just wondering if you have any advice on how to keep that goal in perspective and keep your eye on that and keep heading towards that without getting discouraged.
Yeah. Wow, man. Well, first off, of course, I'm sorry, that any major health issues that you had. I mean, I hate hearing that. And I can personally attest. I mean, I've met you in the past, and yeah, you're definitely a guy that's in shape, and looking fantastic and everything. So I can imagine that it's really affecting you pretty hard. And I really hear that. As far as keeping an eye on the prize, and going forward, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me when I hear this, or when people ask this sort of thing, I mean, sometimes it's out of a severe medical issue, sometimes it isn't. This is I'm always kind of careful to suggest this. But it's amazing how many times, like, I've seen really, like, that this really kind of works. You really got to play a very serious mental game. And one of the ways to do that is because, like you said, you're looking in the mirror and you're not recognizing what you're seeing. and it's tough. And maybe right now it's so tough to imagine what getting that 30 pounds back would really look like, even if you looked at pictures of yourself in the past or something like that. And I know this might sound, maybe you've had this recommended to you by others or something. And this is just a simple thing. I'm willing to go into other things as well, but just a very simple one is, like if you're for fitness particularly, getting pictures of finding people with body types that you want to look like, that you want to emulate, that you're trying to reach, and really like just surrounding yourself with those pictures in whatever area. I don't know if you go to the gym or if you work out at home more often.
Home gym.
Yeah, okay, you work out at home, so that's perfect. Somehow just like surround yourself with what that looks like. They're really, I mean, it's not woo woo, it's not The Secret, it's none of that bullshit. I mean, like some of the biggest names as far as fitness goes, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, a bunch of them have all said this, same thing. And I've used it, and I know other people that talk about it, and I think, and they really feel that it's led to tremendous results. Is you get a picture of I don't know, get pictures of Frank Zane, what's the name, Sadiq Hershovic or whatever. Get pictures of these guys who are whatever body type you're looking to get, and just surround yourself with that, and because then you're always looking at what the end game looks like, and you're always being reminded. And I genuinely feel that that helps in getting you to that goal, because it's a reminder, and B, there's something to, there really is, and I don't know how to explain it, and because we really don't have a grand grasp of how consciousness works as scientifically minded human beings anyway. There's something to putting your mind in the muscle, like when you're say you're working out, okay, and you're doing bicep curls or something, like trying to get your head into the bicep effectively, like trying to thinking about the bicep, what you're doing. There does seem to be some kind of correlation with much better results when it comes to that. And so like I say, playing this mental game, seeing the goal and everything. And look, I've done this too. Like, honestly, I've surrounded myself in a very real sense with a lot of like in the past year or so. Not that I've ever been necessarily unfit, but I've wanted to really step up my game quite a bit in the past year. And going forward, I want to continue to step it up significantly. And honestly, like I've surrounded myself with like pictures of The Rock, Goldberg, all this other stuff, just to like constantly see that body type that I want and where I want to get. And I think I feel it's helped out tremendously. So that's a simple thing that you can do, right? And that's a very like physical thing that you can see. And
Yeah.
that's important, because you want easy steps, certainly, to help out with, initially. I mean, how do you feel about that? Does that sound, if you think that sounds ridiculous, you're totally welcome to say that. Go ahead.
It's not something I would have thought to do. Like I said, uh I'm just open to different strategies right now. So
Sure.
I I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
So like I said, I would not have thought to do that myself. But
Yeah, I mean, it kind of falls into like sort of, and this is really like, again, I usually don't like recommending some of this stuff at times, because like this sort of falls under like a vision board almost, and
yeah,
that can
yeah,
go. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, like, that can go into like very, very woo-woo realms, But then there's people who talk about it in a very practical, matter of fact sense, and it works for them, and great, Like that's one way to keep an eye on the prize. I mean, maybe a vision board, maybe going that far is something to recommend too. Another thing, I mean, and again, this is just strictly applying to fitness. I mean, if it was more like relationship or financial goals or something like that, the suggestions would be vastly different. But just talking about, fitness and getting the body back to where you want it to be, and all of that. I mean, again, this gets back to the mentality, like not only seeing the goal of like the body type that you want and surrounding yourself with images of that body type that you want and everything. Um, I mean, and I've talked about this before when I've done specials on fitness and everything else. Like, I like to constantly imagine, like, what is, I mean, you have to answer for yourself. and I imagine you can answer this, and I'll ask you, and if you want to reveal it, you can. You don't have to. Like, why do you want to have what? I mean, certainly there's the health in general. Obviously, dropping 30 pounds out of nowhere is that's not a good thing, regardless of what you want your body to look like. So but you got to ask yourself, why do you want the body type that you want? Is it just because, well, that's my healthy weight, that's my optimum my optimum body type and all of this? That's a totally valid answer. Is it because you want to look good naked? That's a great answer. I mean, that's it's a fine answer to have. Is it because you want to impress women or men or whatever? All those totally valid things. And I think it's important to answer that question. And then you can, while you're working out or while you're going throughout your day, just constantly be thinking about and visualizing what is the end game that you want. Is it a gal? Is it is it just looking great on the beach and thinking about the beach or something like that? I know a lot of this all sounds kind of nuts, but really I think so much of how we're able to get anywhere is not playing mental tricks, but getting it, really getting it in your head of what your future, what your optimum future looks like. I think that's so important. I mean, do you want to answer the question as far as like why do you want your body to be the way it is? Is it just health? I mean, go for it. If you don't want to answer, just say you don't want to answer, and that's totally fine.
Oh no, I'll answer. Where I was around 165, 170, it was just it was a healthy set point for my
Yep.
weight. I was able to lift pretty heavy weights pretty easily.
Sure.
And my goal was never to get super huge. Um, I mean, I'll admit there's also a bit of vanity in there.
Yeah, no, that's completely valid and acceptable. That's a great thing.
But um, but that's just part of it. I mean, the primary reason is the health and being able to physically do the things I want to do. I was really into some gymnastics stuff at the time when this hit, and so being around that weight, with that strength level, to do what I was doing at that time as well.
Sure. Well, again, that's completely valid. For it to just be about health, or just to be about to do the things that you physically enjoy doing, and that really brings you, just like a great sense of satisfaction, personal satisfaction, and ability, and all that. I think that's awesome. And that's something else that when you're working out or when you're going throughout the day, like just be obsessed with reaching that goal of where you can do that sort of stuff again. And uh, I mean, for example, like with me, and I'm sure Jacob, you've heard me say this, but I'll say it for everybody else. I mean, for me, like, yeah, big part of why I want to have a certain weight and have the physical ability and all this workout and everything is like, yeah, I mean, I want to look good for for the gals. I want to look good naked and all this, and um so when I'm working out, I'm constantly imagining, like women. Hell, I'll imagine them on stripper poles or something. I mean, whatever, like that's part of it, and that's what gives me and really, that's such a huge part of my drive. Why every single day, I am absolutely, working out and getting in at least like an hour a day if I can. But I gotta have those motivators. Those things got to be going for me. If you're just feeling down on your luck, and you're not constantly keeping, not constantly thinking about the, having your eye on the prize, yeah, you're going to say, well, I can skip today, and then it just keeps going, keeps going down from there. So I think that's a really powerful thing, and the mentality really seems to be fucking everything. The body will just follow where the mind wants to go so many times. Um, so do you have any thoughts on that? How does any of that sound to you?
Well, I mean, it sounds good. I mean, like I said, I've never had any problem with motivation before, but I
Okay.
can see that it might be an issue this time around. And so any of these mental tricks, I'm gonna put them to use because this is, like I said, this is going to be a long road to recovery, and I'm looking for all the help I can get right now.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And yeah, um, just one other thing I'll put out there. Boy, and I'm kind of trying to rack my brain as far as like any other little tricks of making sure that you can get to the point that you want to get back to and everything. Um, I mean, one thing, like, I don't know what your normal workout necessarily looks like. I mean, another one of the really, or what your average workday and all that looks like. Just another one of the things that also motivates me quite a bit to work out is that's like the 1 hour or however long you take. It doesn't have to be an hour. It's like the one part of the day where there are no screens, no smartphone, no nothing. I mean, like, there are no screens in front of me, and I am so I wish more of my life could have less screens in front of my face. But it's just one of those moments where I really get to relish in that. And, maybe that's just, that's one other little piece of motivation where, like, yeah, this is the part of the day where I can really get, rest my eyes, get away from it, and just be in the moment and everything. So yeah, I'm really, yeah, Jacob, seriously, I am so sorry that whatever had happened. Because I seriously, I think you're a great guy, and fortunately, also, I really, knowing you as I know you, I think you got this. I think you can
Oh,
do this.
thanks. I thanks. I appreciate that. I do. Uh, uh, on so thanks.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So, do you have anything else? I mean, anything else you wanted to get on about, or?
No, no. But you know, you've given me some advice to ponder, so I'm gonna listen back to this and you know, try to implement some of those strategies. So thanks for your help.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, man. And I'll tell you, if I think of something else or whatever, I will be in touch. Because
I
yeah, I
appreciate
mean,
it.
yeah, no problem, man. So yeah, it's true. Motivation can be hard at times. People can be in slumps, and for varying reasons, some very serious health reasons, some reasons of other things, and yeah, I mean, it can really be tough to get out of a lot of that. And there could be so many things going on unconsciously or consciously for people. Um, it helps to analyze, and that's why I think it's really helpful to have, like, kind of looking externally at external examples of where you want to be, to really, to help you get there. So yeah, thanks a lot, Jacob, for coming on. Oof.
Yeah. All right. Carpe lucem. Talk to you later.
Yeah, you bet, baby. Yeah. So, all right. Let's see what we got going on. Anything going on in the YouTube live chat? Nothing at the moment. So I'm going to switch over. There was another preloaded question that we had. I will say quickly, again, yeah, I mean, anything, any little edge that you can do. Now, I don't necessarily believe in, like, gamification for any kind of motivation, because you want things to be intrinsic, and that's why you just want to be able. It's so important to answer the philosophical question. It is a genuine philosophical question. It's not just something for children. Okay, to be able to answer the question, "What do I want?" If you can answer that with a precision, with a sharpness that could split atoms, I really think you can absolutely get to wherever ever you want to be. And as long as you can be patient, and as long as you can be a little uncomfortable, for a little while, as long as those two things are so important: being patient and having the capacity to be uncomfortable for a time. Okay. And again, your birthright is to be happy. You're not the purpose of a human being is to be happy. It's not to be uncomfortable. But as long as you can, be patient and deal with some uncomfortableness, I think anybody can almost literally achieve anything. I mean, really anything. Those are the two skills that you have to be able to foster. And they're tough because you got to wait, and you might have to, again, uncomfortableness takes a lot of different shapes. It could be pain. It could be, annoyance. I mean, like, there's so many different, shapes that can take. And yeah, you shouldn't have to deal with that. And I'm not saying that it's a good thing that you deal with that. I'm just saying that to achieve certain goals for certain people, we all have different abilities and capacities and whatever. Okay, those are two things that will, in my opinion, get you to wherever you need to go. You got to handle that uncomfortableness, and I don't know, tell yourself the old Dune mantra. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death. I'll allow it to pass through me, and only I will remain, and all that stuff. I mean, like whatever it takes. But the powers of the mind, it is an incredible thing, no doubt about that. So, all right. Yeah, and of course, and someone just said in the YouTube chat, best of luck to Jacob. And of course, I say the same, best of luck. And yeah, you got this. So let's see. All right, before I get to the next one, we just had another question in YouTube live chat. Brian, a related question on downloads of movies, music, and ebooks. Any security tips, ways to protect from malicious code? Oh boy, this used to be the thing, especially with torrenting. Okay, this is what separated the shall we say, the humans from the animals. Okay, because it used to be really hard for a lot, especially newbies into the space, to keep from downloading potentially malicious files. Okay, now with music, so a big problem that there used to be when you were downloading albums, when you're downloading music, was there used to be a real format war. That okay, do you download an OGG file, .ogg? Do you download an MP3? Do you download a WMA? Which one do you download? And here was the thing: is that particularly for Windows users, the WMA file, which is Windows Media Audio, this is pretty much a dead codec today. Okay, as impressive as it was, 15 years ago or however long ago, the WMA would open up automatically for most people because they just they're running Tyranny of the Default, their default settings. For most people, they were just running Windows Media Player, and when you opened, and Windows Media Player was so baked in to the Windows operating system that you could put malicious code in Windows Media Codecs, not just Windows Media Audio, but also WMV, which was Windows Media Video. Okay, and like they could do effectively an injection attack. Like they could put malicious code, whatever, onto your machine just by you opening up what you thought was a WMA or a WMV with Windows Media Player. So it used to be a really big, like one of the first pieces of advice you'd give to people who are new to torrenting is do not download WMVs or WMAs. Now, WMVs were genuinely, like at the time, they were a popular, and WMAs were both popular compression codecs because you could have them in such a small size. Like WMAs were far better than MP3s, like across the board. There's been a million different file codecs that are better than MP3s for a million reasons. Okay, but none of them really took off. MP3 just kind of stayed as king. And look, the MP3 isn't dead as much as certain organizations want to tell you that. It's going to be around for a very, very long time. But now we've gotten to the point where pretty much everything is like MP4 or MKV as far as movies go. And music-wise, maybe it's an M4A, but that's a fine codec that you can't really do any kind of malicious code with that. Or it's an MP3, or it's a FLAC file, which is a lossless, a very popular lossless codec. And so generally, if you download those, you're okay. But here's the number one trick to roll with as far as when it's downloading any kind of media file, like like movies or audio, is you want to use VLC Player and make sure VLC Player is the thing that when you open up those files, that's where it goes to. The reason for this, and this has been true for a very long time, the reason for this is that VLC is a completely sandboxed media player. And so what would happen is, say you thought you were downloading, I don't know, some kind of Asian ass porn or something, and it was a WMV file years ago. You would double click on that. It would open up, instead, because you set your default to open up with VLC and not with Windows Media Player, it would open up in VLC, and in VLC it would just look like gibberish. Like there wouldn't be any video, you wouldn't see a dick in anybody's ass or anything like that. And so you'd instantaneously know, okay, this is a malicious file, and then you just delete it and you go about your day, and it wouldn't infect your system at all because everything is happening is sandboxed within VLC. Now, there have been issues recently that have been well publicized and talked about, like where subtitle files were allowing for injection attacks, on computers. And even if you were using VLC, it was a problem. But then VLC updated as quickly as they could. So first piece of advice is use VLC. All right, with any kind of audio or video file that you're going to play. That is so key. Make sure it is automatically set as your default. Don't let it open up anything else. Just VLC. All right. And the person just said in the YouTube live chat, I always avoid downloading XEs, exe files, but not sure what one can do for non-exe files. Yeah, don't download exe files. And with software, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of software out there. Like I don't really torrent software anymore. They used to be such a popular thing to do, and you really just had to be careful and kind of try and trust your sources as far as downloading software and all that. But it's really to the point that software is either so inexpensive because of, like, say, the Windows, or the Microsoft Store if you're using a Windows machine or something like that, or all of the myriad things available on Linux or whatever. Like, software is so cheap now. There's not a good reason to not buy software anymore, in my opinion. I'm not saying there aren't times to torrent stuff. Certainly there are, but we're really past that time frame. I mean, it used to be bad. Like, software used to cost, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And so why would you do that, right? Like, for example, Fruity Loops, FL Studio, okay, which is a software that I use to make a lot of my music for my projects. That used to cost like $800, $900, just crazy amounts of money. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth that. I'm just saying that, the average person isn't going to pay that. But today, you could get right into the Microsoft Store for Windows 10. You can get like this, like FL Mobile or something it's called. And it's like 10 or 20 bucks. And you can do just about everything on there that I could ever want to do to make the music that I make, and so, it's to the point. It's like, yeah, I'll just pay them, and then I don't have to worry about the updating and copying over the exe file and everything, and worry about cracking it. I mean, they're just it's so much easier now. Like, there's really no good reason not to do it. So anyway, I hope that let's see. So yeah, as far as music and ebooks and all that stuff. Yeah, with ebooks, you want to be careful because EPUBs are really just zip files. If you're on a Windows machine, a very simple answer to that is to actually and believe it or not, is to let Microsoft Edge open the EPUB file or the PDF file, because Microsoft Edge is very nicely sandboxed because it's a UWP. And Microsoft is continually sandboxing Microsoft Edge more for security. So that's a great option for that, to know whether or not, because that used to be a very scary thing too, is that PDFs would be loaded with malicious code and all that, or links that would do some kind of injection. I mean, would be an exploit. It was so bad. But it's really cleaned up quite a bit. And if you're going on Pirate Bay, look for, not that this is a guarantee, but look for, they have like a rating system effectively, where if it's a really quality uploader, see if they have the little pink or bright green skull next to the torrent's name. It's coming from an uploader, a torrent uploader with some reputation. So that's something to recommend. And let's see, in the live chat, somebody said, yeah, downloading software is all about knowing which release groups are reputable. Yeah, exactly. And like now, like there used to be, I don't know, there was Core, there's a few different groups I remember. Admittedly, that's like a scene I'm not necessarily, really a part of anymore. So, or at least not where it's software. So I can't really say what groups are necessarily reputable today. But anyway, I hope that answers all of that. Those are my recommendations, is just be careful which files you download. I mean, MP3s, you're pretty safe. Use VLC to open these things up. And if you're not, I mean, if you're not using Windows, as far as like with ebooks and PDF files, if you're not using Windows, there's not so much that those files can do to Linux. So if it doesn't open up, you just realize you downloaded something that isn't actually an ebook or a PDF or whatever. So I don't think you have so many concerns as far as that goes. So, okay, let's move on to. Let's go to this other preloaded question here. We got about 15 minutes left to the show. And this is, so is Dash a cult? I'm kidding, but only sort of. This is what the person said. I know a couple of people who are promoting it heavily, and it seems like it's all they ever talk about anymore. It's kind of creepy. Okay, so great question, actually, because now the comment about Dash being kind of cultish. Now, Dash has an amazing community built around it. All right, I mean, like the community around Dash is just remarkable. In fact, in New Hampshire, my present home geographic area, in New Hampshire, if you go to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, like there's tons of places there that accept Dash, and it's all because there's these people who are so excited about Dash, and they're just like going around, like Mormons, spreading the good word to everybody. Okay, and yeah, it comes off as kind of crazy. Now, let's be clear here. Bitcoin was the same way. like back in 2012, 2013, and even previous to that, I suppose, Bitcoin was really, like, I actually got worried. I went to a meetup, very popular meetup that still goes to this day in Cambridge, where this is at MIT, and at that meetup, like, people were passing out pamphlets for what they called Bitcoinism. And it was like they were really selling it almost as a religion. It felt very culty. And I was like, this is not good. Like, you guys don't know what you're doing, way more harm than good. You don't know what you're doing. This is bad. So it could kind of be said about anything, not just Dash, right? I mean, like everything is kind of had that moment. Another one presently that is very cultish, in my opinion, is Steemit was very cultish. I mean, I think what happens here is, with this. Now with Dash, it's phenomenal marketing. Like, they paid a few of the right people. Particularly, there's one gal that they kind of brought on board who, because she's a gal, a lot of people listen to her. And look, I'm not ripping on women or anything. I'm ripping on the Liberty Movement for really only paying attention to this person. I mean, and it's plainly obvious. It's because she's a woman. I mean, and I'd seen this woman outside of that, and I think she's a very nice person, whatever. But like, she seems very troubled, and like I have genuine health concerns about her and all that. But she's like the number one person for promoting Dash, and well, people get very excited about that. I mean, two things that can get people excited about something to the point where it seems cultish. Two things. One is money. Like, if money's involved, which Dash, yeah, there's money involved. In fact, right now Dash is doing phenomenally well. It broke 600 this weekend. I mean, that's incredible. It's worth more than Ethereum, which, great. And boy, talk about another cult. The other thing that'll get people excited. So if there's money involved, yep, that'll get people excited. The other thing is if there's women, if we're talking about, like cisgender, hetero people, okay, if we're talking about something else, people in the LGBTQ spectrum, I mean, that's very different. Okay. But in general, in conventional society, yeah, money, women, you're going to get people excited about what's going on. And Dash was smart enough to kind of push women out in front that seemed to know what they were talking about. And I think that got a lot of people very excited about it. And there is this community, and there's other things. There's other interesting things going on with Dash. Like, there's the master nodes, right? That's a very exciting. Like, they're really playing on incentives. What are, I don't want to say natural human incentives, but cultural human incentives. In that, like, if you run a master node, which helps secure the entire network, and democratizes and decentralizes the network for Dash, more so than just having miners for Bitcoin. Uh, and you can make money for running one of these master nodes or something, and that's the incentive, is that you get to, you automatically get money because you are running one of these things. People get very excited about that, and they feel like that they're a part of this, like that they have some kind of say in this, monetary institution that is Dash. Okay. And I actually have no problem with that. But this is the reason that people get really fucking excited about it, right? I mean, this is why people get, really great, because they feel like they're really a part of it. And it's checking off all of their boxes as far as, what they want out of life or something. I mean, because Dash, again, it's a very serious community. Now, a Sovryn Tech sponsor, full disclosure, Zencash, or Zen, is really trying to be Dash with zero knowledge proofs. I have no problem with this, okay? Because I think like the concept of secure nodes, which is what Zencash calls them, as compared to Dash's master nodes, but somewhat a similar concept. Even though there seems to be a lot more that you could do when it comes to when it comes to Zencash with those. Zencash does the same thing, and they're trying to get people out in front, and they're doing it right. They are, and I've said this many times, like with Bitcoin, the reason Bitcoin got as big as it did is because you did have zealots for Bitcoin. You did have people who were so excited about Bitcoin. But the only way you can get people like that is you really have to reach grassroots. You have to be talking to people at the grassroots level. Whatever. You don't want to get bankers. Bankers are fickle. You don't want investors. Investors are fickle. You want people. You want to tell them, look, here is an opportunity that in a few years you could be making millions. And I'm not saying this is any kind of like trickery or anything, because that's exactly what fucking happened. Bitcoin delivered on the promise in a very real sense for a lot of people that held on to their Bitcoin 4 or 5 years ago. Okay, so it's not bullshit. But that's what you got to do. You got to reach the grassroots people. You got to get people that are passionate about it, because they're passionate about the technology, about how it can help set them free, about how it can create an alternative economy, about whatever it ends up having to be. And Dash did that. Dash did what Bitcoin did, and I think that's why Dash right now it's above $600 a pop, because it reached out to the grassroots community. Okay, it marketed in the right places. Most cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, whatever, they don't do that. I mean, and I've been saying this for years on Sovryn Tech. This is how you got to start small. You got to start with these people. You got to, and Zencash, Rob Viglione, he very explicitly told me, he says, I want PorcFest libertarians. He says, those are the people that I want to reach. And I said, that's the right move. I said that is exactly who you want to be reaching out to, because that's what Bitcoin started with, those people, and that's why Bitcoin is where it is today, because those people are passionate. Be it about individual liberty or whatever the fuck they're passionate about, they're passionate people. They're passionate enough to go camping out in the woods in the West Bumfuck, New Hampshire for a week. Yeah, if you can get those people turned on to whatever you're pushing, you got a winner. So yeah, so in ways, like, I appreciate kind of the marketing tactic that Dash went for. Unfortunately, yeah, like it kind of consumes people, and it ends up being all that they talk about. And I think Dash, like, I have some concerns, not with the abstract way that Dash operates, but I have some concerns around, maybe some of the technicals around Dash. So and whatever, they're concerns, and maybe they'll never end up being a problem. And certainly, blockchains can be adaptable to a degree. So, maybe they can, they can end up fixing all of that. So, but yeah, I get it that it feels very culty. Like Steam, it felt very culty. And actually, I was really annoyed with Steam and how culty it was, because like the notion that you are going to make money because you post whatever bullshit picture on some website, like, that should throw off so many alarm bells for people, and it didn't. And people just, but it seemed like it was happening, that people were making money doing that. Of course, eventually the piper has to get paid. That kind of thing can't last forever. And I think that comeuppance has come, and in a very real sense. And so, it's not paying off on what it was putting out there. And yeah, and it really, like, again, you definitely got that sense of cultiness. You get that around around a lot of these cryptocurrencies, where, and again, sometimes it's, I don't know, sometimes it's well-founded because you really are trying to build a community around it. Like, if someone felt that there was some kind of cultiness around Zencash, I'd get it. But at the same time, they really are trying to build an entire community where you are involved, and it's very pervasive in a lot of different actions that you take in your life. And how that doesn't end up looking like a cult, I don't know. Maybe it does. So yeah, I mean, my answer is kind of all over the place, but I get it. I understand exactly what you're saying, how it looks culty. And yeah, I've met a lot of Dash people where it felt very culty. And in fact, here it is. Here's where it should be a concern when something feels culty, is if they ignore all other players in the game. Okay, so like, if a Dash person pays no attention to Zcash, or something, or Zencash or whatever, or Litecoin or Monero or something like that. Some of these very legitimate, in what I consider to be legitimate proven coins that are out there. Yeah, then I think you've got a cult member. I think you've got a real problem if they're not willing to, if they're not looking to put their fingers in other pies, as it were. And yeah, when you get into like guys, I've definitely met plenty of Dash people that are like that. Frankly, I've met Monero people that are that way. I've met, boy, I've never met anybody in Litecoin like that. I've met plenty of Bitcoin people like that. That's kind of the same problem with Bitcoin maximalists, right? Like I disagree with them. I don't really see that in the Zcash community. The Zcash community seems to be very kind. So does the Zencash community. Both of those have been, very nice and very welcoming to, other people being out there and all that. And other coins doing what they do, and that's really great. The Bitcoin Cash community, little worried about that. I feel like Bitcoin Cash in many ways is a bit cultish as well. But again, it's a new currency, and like I said at the start, they'll always kind of feel that way, right? Like I think that's it's not a nature of the game, but it seems to be part and parcel very much in when these things first start up. So yeah, so there you have it. But I will say kudos to Dash. I mean, for cracking 600 and being an altcoin, for fuck's sake, that's that is very impressive. I mean, yeah, there's been altcoins at various points where they've held a higher value or something, but like Dash seems to be holding, and at these little higher levels, and kudos to them. I'll just put that right out there. So, okay, Dogecoin cultists. Oh, yeah, Dogecoin. Well, Dogecoin got culty, but it was like a comedic cult, right? So, like they were being funny. Like I still, to this day, funny story, to this day, I still don't know if that whole Jamaican bobsled team that was funded with $30,000 in Dogecoin or whatever, I still don't know if that's real or not. I have no idea. I want somebody, I need to know whether or not that was fucking legit. And I've had people like, how do you believe that? I don't know. Fake news. Shit. So, anyway, yeah. I mean, that again, to some degree, that kind of that cultish attitude just comes along with it. But as long as the person is open to, and maybe is even willing to play on other fields, shall we say, then I'm not too worried about it. But if they're not, yeah, you got a cult in your hands. So, all right. We've got about 3 minutes left because this usually only runs about an hour. So, and I have got dinner and a workout coming up. Yeah, I want to believe. um, so yeah, boy, I'll tell you, just a couple weeks, and we're going to be seeing The Last Jedi. Like I said in the Sovryn Tech Prime episode this week, I will be dedicating, as usual, I will be dedicating an entire half of an episode to that. To review for The Last Jedi. I'm really excited about this film. We'll be releasing over in the next few days. I have to do my November Star Wars update, which I have some very unkind things to say. I have some, like there's that Adventures of Luke Skywalker book that at first I thought was pretty good. And then I find out, or not Adventures, Legends of Luke Skywalker. At first I thought this book was pretty good. We'll talk about it more in depth in the Star Wars update when I release it over the next few days. But then everybody is saying, well, you got to understand that this is Legends of Luke Skywalker. These stories may not be exactly canon. And I'm like, oh, fucking Disney, like, then don't do it. The selling point for these books is that it's going to be, that this is canon and you can take it to the bank, as it were. Okay. And now I have to be like, well, did that really happen? Did it not happen? Like what? Like, this is not the ambiguity that I'm laying down my hard-earned cash for. Like really, I was so, the book overall was actually fairly enjoyable. I mean, there's some wild shit that happens in that, but again, I don't know if it actually happened, and I want to believe that. Speaking about, I want to believe some of these things happen, and some of the quotes in it are phenomenal. Like it's so cool to to spend time with Luke Skywalker again. But then I have to deal with, well, maybe that didn't fucking happen, and I just think that's so goddamn stupid. I mean, because then ex post facto, they could say that about anything. You know, Disney could say, yeah, well, that Tarkin book was actually, it should have been titled Legends of Tarkin, and don't take it too seriously. You know, it feels like such a cheap cop out. You're paying for a fucking story group. Let them do their jobs. I was really, really, really not digging the style and the presentation of that book. I was not happy. Someone said in the YouTube live chat, yeah, the unreliable narrator trope seems overly popular these days. Yeah, because it keeps you from having to stay on your toes and keep up with the canon. I'm really fucking annoyed by that. And I have some other issues as well, going on with Star Wars. But like I said, Last Jedi, I think is going to be awesome. I'm actually very confident in just how good that movie is going to be, and so I can't wait for it and can't wait to talk about it. Of course, we do have the holiday special that is still coming up. We've got newsletters, got a lot of. Actually, I have to release 2 newsletters before the end of the month, and both of those will be out. November ended up being a lot busier than I expected. I actually, fortunately, today, just to kind of like, in a very real sense, recenter myself, I went to the Satanic Temple today, and I did some yoga. The lovely hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy and I, and some other wonderful friends of the show. We went and we went and did that, and it was awesome. It was beautiful. It was heavy metal yoga. This was so cool. I was literally listening to Black Sabbath and doing yoga, and I was like, "Well, this is the fucking dream." This is great. So anyway, that definitely helped. Because things have just been I've been so busy, and that's something else. When you're really busy, like, let me tell you, doing yoga or working out, like, one of the reasons, and I said this earlier when we were talking to with Jacob and his situation, I mean, getting physical, and having that appointment set during the day can just completely recenter you and refocus you and get you go. No, it's just how the mind goes, and it can just get things together. And I can't wait every day to work out now. And I don't know if I've ever been that way in my life, where I've been excited to get into that working out. And part of the reason to do that is because it really just, it recenters my focus. It's such a powerful action to go through, because the weights are no bullshit. Like Henry Rollins says, 200 pounds is 200 pounds. It's really, it's the great equalizer. Like, it's going to get you in touch. Working out gets you in touch with reality so fast. And to do that every day is such a powerful experience, at least for me, to be able to do that. So, yeah. So now, I'm feeling like, all right, here we go. We've got some great stories to tell, some short stories to tell in the newsletters. We've got an awesome, the holiday special is going to be fucking brilliant. I mean, I can't wait for that to fully come together and release it out to everybody before the end of the year. I think that's so exciting. And yeah, and I'm going to call it the holiday special, because I'll own the Star Wars holiday special all the way. Fucking Life Day, baby. Let's do it. So anyway, all right, that's it for this week. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Anyway, just over the next few days. And in fact, I've decided on, I was going to do This Bible Is Not Borrowed from the Neighbors for the next entry from Sovryn Tech First University in the Patreon feed, where I'm doing audiobooks now. I'm actually going to change it up. I'm doing Hakeem Bey's Temporary Autonomous Zones, which is such a powerful book for me, and really gave me like a new outlook on new solutions for how you can actually achieve some real anarchism in your life. So I'm really excited to be releasing that out to you as well. So, all right, that's it. Wrapping this baby up. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you to Jacob, and best of luck to Jacob. Thank you for coming on, and for everybody participating in the YouTube live chat. Always great. And for everybody that preloaded those questions, that was awesome. This will be released on audio in very short order, so keep a lookout for that. And woo, baby, I will see you on the other side.